Good afternoon, and I'm Elizabeth Nancy Jansen, and I am a love coach, and I have a guest with me today, and this is Dr. Ruth Whalen. And Ruth is a member of Nurturing Love Relationships, my Facebook group, and we're broadcasting simultaneously today to Nurturing Love Relationships. I'm also broadcasting from my Facebook page and to my YouTube channel, which is Elizabeth Nancy Jansen. Why Love is my why. So please subscribe to that channel. That would be great. And with Nurturing Love Relationships, if you're not a member of that group, please join that group. We give value every time, every day. There is an engaging post, and today is no exception. The theme this week is on our languages of love. And just to refresh your memory about that, we've been posting all week about love languages, and there are 5. And we want to discuss what our own love language is, but the 5 are words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, and acts of service, and receiving gifts. Now, Ruth and I have had a chance to talk about this, and Ruth and I have known each other for quite some time. And as I said, she is a member of Nurturing Love Relationships. And I'd like to introduce Ruth, and she's just a wonderful person and full of love herself. But Ruth, would you just give us a brief outline of who you are, where you live in Ontario, and a brief description of what your love journey has been, and then we'll lead into your language of love.
Okay.
Over to you.
Thank you, Nancy, for your introduction. And I am Ruth Whalen, and I live in Goderich, Ontario. This is a 135-year-old farmhouse on Lake Huron, where I am right now. I am retired. I did work in the hospital as a spiritual care provider. And so that meant I was meeting a lot of people on their worst day of their entire lives, usually in the emergency room where, a lot of stuff was going on, and most of the time it involved a trauma. So I'm now retired. I have been retired for about 4 years, and I'm spending my time in the gardens here at my farm on Lake Huron, nurturing plants instead of people, I tend to say. I'm married for the second time. My husband and I, Jim, have been married since 2010, December of 2010, and between us, we have 9 children, 7 of his and 2 of mine. They are all adult children, but it still does get interesting. There's always something going on, and we have grandchildren coming up like mushrooms in our family. So it's a good time of life. It is truly a good time of life, and I'm finding myself in a very peaceful phase of my life at 61.
Wonderful. So now, when we know what the languages of love are, can you tell us about your language of love?
I could identify 4 of them. No, I love giving gifts. That was one, my language of love would include all of those. One thing I love to do is, whether it's painting a room, I love to do something creative and say nothing to Jim. He spends 3 days a week in Windsor in his office. And so I'm here alone in our farmhouse, and I will make changes and just to surprise him, or clean out a cupboard, and that's to surprise him. He could care less. And half the time he doesn't notice, but there's something in my mind that says, yes, I'm going to do this for Jim. It's probably more so for me, but that definitely is creativity, whether it's gardening, around the house here, I'm always doing things that, in my mind, are of service to him and to my family. Um, he, on the other hand, his service is cooking. He loves to cook for his family. If there are allergy requirements, he'll cook very carefully. He'll cook something separately for that individual. One of our daughters has got quite a few allergies. So that definitely is his love language. But as you said, Nancy, as you were listing them, there's one of touch. Yes. Quality time. Yes. Those are his more so than mine. I'm too busy with my stuff. And I'm very results oriented. So I don't spend as much time in the other love languages as what he would. List them again, because, touch, quality time, service,
Words of affirmation.
words of affirmation. Okay. Eh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
he can do that. Yep.
gifting. So words of affirmation, quality time,
Mm-hmm.
physical touch, acts of service, and gifting.
Mm-hmm.
And
He
receive
says, yeah,
gifting.
I as mom of two, I'm just, this might be a concrete example of what gifting might be, but I would always insist that there has to be a surprise under the Christmas tree for me. Don't want to know all the presents under the tree, because we wrap them, we buy them, we, do all the prep work, and then there's no surprises. And so I insist on that. So usually uh, we will do that, and I put a lot of thought and work in what I give, and it's satisfactory. But I'm surprised with how much he says he hates it. And I make us do a stocking every Christmas one, for each other. And he says he hates it, but he's done marvelous gifting. It's really nice to know when something I may wish for, or a statement that I may say, comes back in either a gift form or something that he says, or then I just feel so good, because I know he heard me, and that's how he validates, when either by gift, or by what he says or what he does. And he always says to me, go by what I say, not by what I do. And I can see the reason why, but it feels really good when I know I've been heard and he is acting upon having heard me.
Ruth, I think you've said something very significant when you said, you communicated that to him. You clearly said just now that you communicated to him that it's very important that you have a wrapped surprise under the Christmas
Mhm.
tree. I can remember in my marriage where I hoped and wished that I would have a surprise and a really beautiful gift. And I wanted my husband to know, I expected that he lived with me. He should know what I want and liked. He should know my preferences and my delights. But he can't read my mind. And I didn't communicate it to him. And so I was disappointed that I didn't get anything under the Christmas tree.
Mm.
Just didn't have time, and he didn't like it, and he, you know, hated it. And to my mind, I I do love Christmas. I don't expect everyone on earth to like Christmas, and no offense to anyone watching this if Christmas is not their faith, but that but I did not communicate that. But good on you to clearly communicate what you wanted and needed and need.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't communicate that, how can you expect anything if you don't clearly communicate it?
Mm-hmm.
So good on you. And in my in my experience now as a love relationship coach, I can see the mistakes I clearly made in my previous relationship. I
Mhm.
clearly don't do that now. But yes, good information. So, um, I wanted to ask you a few more questions. Now, in recently, so today, for example, if we look at a normal day, in your love language with Jim,
Mhm.
can you give us an example of how you used your love language or how he did today over breakfast or over a phone call or how you communicated in your connection today?
Using our love language.
Mhm.
Well, we have a tax issue, and he is into tax, finances, financial services, so he's helping me with that. Um, he's in Windsor, so that's kind of a hard one. We're not here. We're not together right now. Um, I it's rainy, it's ugly outside. I would be working outside. That's what he loves to see is he's had this piece of property forever, and developing the gardens, he just loves to, I love to do them, and he loves to see the colors come out and the work I do on the gardens. I'm not doing that today. It's not very romantic, but I did clean the kitchen. Is that a love language? um, so it is kind of difficult to find an example when we have only communicated via text, and it was about our taxes. And I guess,
Okay.
for him, I expressed a willingness to do what I need to do to fix the taxes, and he's willing to work with me on that to fix the taxes. So that would be service to each other. We often collaborate, and what he needs, I try to take care of what I need. And yes, I have to express it to him,
Mhm.
and lo and behold, I'll find out that the text is already sent and he has called the electrician or done whatever he needed. I've asked him to do. So yeah, it's a good partnership in terms of that. And I have to watch my attitude when I'm doing the asking. A lot of times I'll just say, Jim, I need for you to do this, and he can hear that.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
so
Now we have some people on board here, and would anyone watching now like to ask Ruth or myself a question? Please feel free to type it into the chat. And as Ruth and I continue, please don't hesitate. We have someone watching from the Emirates, the
oh,
United Arab Emirates as well. So please do not hesitate. I'm watching the chat line and we are open to questions. Now, Ruth, with your love language, and you and I have a good relationship. So my love language is touch. I need a lot of physical touch. And in my relationship, in my marriage before, touch was withheld if I didn't please my husband. You
mhm.
know, he would turn very cold. If I didn't do the right thing, if I didn't say the right thing, if I did anything to displease him. And I got married when I was 21, and he quickly, I'll give you an example. And this was an example that I wrote that was in my book that I recently published, Bride Doll. And the main character is Naya. And there was an incident where she was first married, and the character is a reflection of my life. Character Naya, when she was first married, she went to the grocery store and for the weekend and bought groceries for the week and also took out money for the weekend. And it was a nominal amount $20. And 20 Canadian dollars is a small amount of money, but at the time, it was enough to buy pizza and beer for a Saturday night. And she thought that would be enough money for the weekend. Well, her husband flipped out, freaked out, and thought, just treated her like, uh, you know, a numbskull, like how, forgive the word, but how stupid could you be to think that that was enough money? Well, here they were both university students and, not a lot of money coming in. They're both students. So trying to save money to be frugal. So this was not a good this was not a good thing to spend a lot of money. So anyway, he withheld even speaking to her for the weekend. And here they're newlyweds. So immediately, this was a sense of control to punish her. So there was no speaking to her. There was withdrawal of any emotional communication, let alone physical touch. So it was like instant cold treatment. You have any comments to that, Ruth?
Yeah, it would be a feeling of being emotionally marooned,
Mhm.
abandoned, and yeah, that is pretty significant in terms of red flags in a relationship.
Yeah.
Um, Rather, no communication regarding how he's feeling. To me, it sounds very passive aggressive. Um, And I would find that so incredibly hurtful. So very, very hurtful. Um,
So that's an example of shutdown of communication.
exactly. Yeah.
And it's hard to reconnect with love. We think of love languages and love languages with, right hand, heart to heart blending and loving and
Hmm.
working together. But it's really hard when it's broken. And how do we fix it? So,
Hmm.
as a love relationship coach, how can we use love language to reconnect?
Hmm.
Yes. So, can you think of an example, Ruth, in your relationship or even in your previous relationship where you have an example of where your love language didn't jive and
Yeah.
how it's different in your new relationship?
Hmm.
You think of an example?
Uh, Not so much in my old. I'm going through the love languages in my head. Um, my previous relationship, we were there was an intellectual disconnect, and that's where we were uneven. I was bent on a journey of growth and education, and an experiential journey, and there was no growth. So we were just uneven. It was difficult, and I was going through some difficult times at the time. A dissonance in my present relationship is Jim loves to cook. And then, yeah, I for the longest time, I love his cooking. He does a lot of garlic and, very, very fresh foods. And then I became a plant-based eater, and I don't eat any of the foods that he makes anymore. And, we just go on to another love language. And I think, growth was very important in my first relationship. And I'm just trying to think what love language would that be under, because one core value in Jim and my relationship is that of mutual growth. His expectation is that I will become the best person that I can be, and my expectation and support is for him to become the very best person he can be. It would be service.
Mhm.
So even though, yes, we have some dissonance in terms of his love language of cooking and mine of painting, decorating that he doesn't notice, gardening. Well, he does notice the gardening, but so there are some dissonances, but the underlying value is that of mutual growth and the freedom to do so with
Mhm.
no time. I don't keep him from doing so, nor does he ever keep me from doing so, from doing what I need to do.
So you have that bond of love of self growth for yourself and his self and how you nurture each other and that
Yeah,
abundance, and
exactly.
it's a
That kind
beautiful.
of overrides the smaller stuff, you know. As it is now, we've got a one person kitchen, so we don't have a sign in sheet yet, but we do decide, well, who's going to have the kitchen first, because I do a lot of chopping and he does a lot of chopping. So, but it's how we live. It's
Yeah,
mutual cooperation.
yeah.
We're good.
In with my husband Arnoldus, we we have I my love language is touch, but I also love to provide for him a beautiful meal, and that is the evening meal. He makes breakfast for me, and he loves to do that, and we both make our own lunch, but we have it together because he eats
Mhm.
different lunch foods. But anyway, we have a day where I work from home and he's retired and he supports my business with his technology and all kinds of things. So we work together, which is beautiful. But in terms of my ability, I love to cook, as I said. So I get to create a beautiful meal for him, which he so appreciates.
Mhm.
And then we can combine that physical touch because I get to hug him and we can flirt around with each other in the kitchen, and it's just lovely, and
Mhm.
make playtime in the kitchen or wherever. 4 o'clock is cappuccino time, around 4 o'clock. We create a lovely, lovely time. But you know it, I'm at a different point in my life in that I'm not 21 anymore. And I've learned so much in life and about love. And it's about, knowing yourself so well and learning in this life journey, stepping in those potholes. Like not And I've learned so much of stepping in those potholes. I've written a book about it. And so that, hopefully you read my book, Bride Doll, so that, people don't have to step in those potholes. I've done the research, trust me. Um, so that I know Ruth, you've mentioned the core values. Like the average person that I bump up against, they don't reflect on their core values or know their core values. It might be an abstract thought, but concretely, have you thought about your core values and really address them and can articulate to yourself and to others what your core values actually are? It's a beautiful exercise because it really refreshes your ability to really think about those core values and take ownership of them. It really builds on your self love, your self worth, and your self confidence when you actually do that for yourself. And then when you know those core values so well, it really helps you in defining who you are in your own space and with creating your own boundaries. So it's a beautiful thing. And getting back to my partner, my partner Arnoldus and I, we are so aligned with each other. And in our physical and emotional space, we we play so well together. We live so well together, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because we we do align. And it's a beautiful thing. And I didn't know that at 21. It took a lot of bumps in the road and potholes. And, I've written a beautiful love story about this. And I'm not just trying to do a sales job on you, it really is a good love journey. Uh, so, it does, as you said, Ruth, it comes to core values, and it comes back to languages of love, and knowing yourself so well that how you want those, the beautiful way of talking to your spouse, and knowing what, or your partner, knowing exactly how they like to talk about love, how they like to have love communicated to them or with them in a language that's verbal and nonverbal. And it's a beautiful way to live and to love together and apart,
Mhm.
and to always have that connection. Yeah, and to feel that connection. And so many people in this world, you know, so many people, and I was one of those individuals, that in this busy life, you have this big job, and you and I were in healthcare together. Well, not that we worked in the same space, but we understand this healthcare and this critical care, understanding working in ICUs. And it's hard, and people are, it's great to see someone get well and walk out of there. And I worked with cranial surgeons, and it was hard, and seeing people really having trouble, brain injured, people with massive burns, people with strokes, young women with strokes, children, all kinds of tragedies. But the other side, when they do get well, healthcare, it was a hard industry to be in, and to come home, and to be so connected to your loved one, your partner. You want to be able to lean in and to love, but to be so busy and with children and all of their stuff, and how be so connected with your children. It's a big agenda for a woman, a big agenda, to be good at all those things, and to not have, and women are very good at give, 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 and then they're not, they're depleting, depleting, depleting. And I don't know about you, Ruth, but that's a hard thing to keep filling up. And I was not good at filling my myself with abundance. I
Mhm.
had to learn how to do that,
Mhm.
to fill my own vessel with love. I didn't know how to do that. And now I know how to do that. I'm a generator of love now. I can generate love for myself and for other people. I've found my purpose to do this. And I love to do this. And you've seen me, Ruth, along my way, along my love journey. And having a language of love is so beautiful to have with your partner. And for those who do not have a partner, it's so important to learn to have that self-love. And that's our foundation of learning, and how to learn from getting out of our head and into our heart, to become heart-centered. And Ruth, you know how to do that so well. And I know how to do that so well. And right now I feel so into my heart. And I know you're doing it right now, Ruth. I could see it, that you're in your heart. and to feel that abundance of love come in, to feel it and to generate it, and it has to come from within, because if you have that self-love and feel it grow and grow and grow, if you don't have self-love, you can't give love. I'm going to repeat that. If you don't have self-love, you can't give love. So back to the languages of love, your center, your heart. You have to be so heartful for oneself. And it's not being selfish. You know, try to try to ha- get rid of that limiting belief that one's being selfish to think of oneself. To love oneself is so important. And to really work on your love language, but your self love and that love centered, you know, I love myself. I fill my tank, my vessel full of love. And so I have a beautiful love language that I communicate with my husband. But I was single for 6 years, and I did a lot of internal work. And I I worked on loving myself. I worked on doing fun things, creative things. I learned how to paint. That's one of my paintings here. I didn't start out doing a painting like that, you know, but I took one painting lesson, and then I got over my fear of I could only draw stick people, playing with paints, and then I just started and started. I found whatever your thing is, whatever you have fun with, and I put fun into my day, whatever, you know, that helped me start with my self love. And then you can start building on your love language with yourself, and then prepare for your future partner if you choose. So it all comes back to love. That's my why. I'm all about love. And we have this beautiful guest with Ruth today, and talking about love languages. And Ruth, do you have anything more to add, or another example? Please jump in.
Well, one of the things that I've learned in my marriages is, it's I'm a better participant in a relationship when I love myself, I know myself, I have healed myself. When I am a complete person, not looking to be completed by another person, I'm a better partner. And it just reminds me of the words of Khalil Gibran, and he has a poem on relationships. It's on the shelf. Basically what he writes is we are like individual pillars, and it's important in our relationships to be able to let air flow in between. And this is enmeshment, and we need to have be as complete a pillar as we can and allow air to flow in between, and in that way we can become a better life partner for ourselves and for the other.
Yeah. And Cecilia, on watching this, is totally agreeing with you, Ruth, and loves what you're having to say about this. Yeah, it's so important to build that self and to have that internal growth and internal healing. Yeah, yeah. So this has been wonderful, and I really welcome all of you watching and interacting here to belong to join Nurturing Love Relationships, and to subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel, Nurturing, or to Elizabeth Nancy Jansen, Love is My Why, and lots of good engagement with Nurturing Love Relationships. And I'm going to be having a guest per week talking about the theme of the week. And this theme this week, of course, is languages of love. And next week, we're going to be talking about love attachments. So lots of good information. And Ruth, you've just been wonderful with this interview today. And it's just been great. And I'm just so thrilled that you've been here with me today. So thankful.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, Nancy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.